the National Conference on Thoroughly Understanding and Implementing the Resolution of the 11th Plenum of the Central Committee.
Russia warns of first retaliatory target in case of conflict with NATO.
U.S. imposes tariffs. How do businesses in Nghệ An adapt?
Hello everyone, you are watching today's news on NTV channel. My name is Đăng. Let's get started. On the morning of April 16 in the capital city of Hanoi, the Politburo and Secretariat held a national conference to understand and implement the resolution of the 11th Plenum of the 13-party Central Committee.
The conference was held in person from the central location at Dean Hong Hall, National Assembly House, and virtually connected to 21,000 locations nationwide. These included provincial and municipal party committees under the central government, central-level departments, ministries, sectors, public service units, as well as district and commune-level locations across the country, with more than 1.5 million participants. General Secretary Lam attended and delivered a keynote address at the central location. The conference aimed to thoroughly communicate the core contents, new points, and key focuses of the documents from the 11th Plenum of the 13th Party Central Committee. Based on this, party committees at all levels, party organizations, departments, ministries, sectors, and localities will continue to disseminate, promote, and implement the contents of the 11th Plenum's documents within their respective localities, agencies, and units.
Director of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Narishkin, warned that Poland and Baltic states will be the first to suffer in the event of direct conflict between NATO and Russia.
The warning came amid alerts from Danish and German intelligence agencies, which advised that NATO should prepare for a potential Russian attack within the next 5 years. Previously, reports indicated that several NATO member states have already begun preparing for such a scenario. Poland, for example, has plans to train all adult men for a wartime scenario, while Norway is restoring old military bunkers, and Germany is allocating billions of dollars to increase defense spending. Some countries have even issued survival handbooks to guide citizens on how to respond in emergencies such as war or natural disasters. The scenario of a Russian attack on NATO has drawn even more attention as the United States, NATO's leading power, shows increasing skepticism toward its commitment to the military alliance.
During the Passover holiday, April 12 20, the Israeli military organized tours for civilians to this buffer zone in the Golan Heights, sparking widespread controversies over sovereignty issues.
The tours were held twice daily, transporting visitors in armored buses about 2.5 kilometers into Syrian territory, an area that was previously restricted. This buffer zone, now under Israeli control following a recent military operation, is recognized under international law as part of Syria. Notably, the Israeli military asserted that the activity took place within Israel, even though the area lies in a demilitarized buffer zone considered Syrian territory. The move has reignited controversy over sovereignty in the Golan Heights, a region occupied by Israel since 1967 and unilaterally annexed in 1981. A move not recognized by the international community. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israeli forces would remain in the area until an alternative security arrangement is established, and called on forces of the Syrian interim government to stay away from the border region.
Coming up next are some updated news.
According to information from the Eastern Nghệ An Economic Zone Management Board, on April 27, 2025, the agency will organize the second job fair of 2025 at the Hua Industrial Zone Nghệ An, Ghi Hung Commune, Ghi Loc District. The event is expected to offer over 12,000 attractive job positions for both unskilled workers and those with specialized training. Key sectors include electronics, automotive components, mechanical engineering, garment manufacturing, and more. The positions offer stable income, good welfare policies, and significant opportunities for career advancement in a professional work environment.
Vietnam and China sign a protocol, paving the way for products such as chili peppers, passion fruit, raw birds' nests, cleaned birds' nests, and rice bran to be exported to the market of 1.4 billion people. According to the joint statement, both sides signed a protocol for the export of Vietnamese products to China, including chili peppers, passion fruit, raw birds' nests, cleaned birds' nests, and rice bran. In addition to these products, China is actively processing official permits for other Vietnamese agricultural products such as citrus fruits and plant-based traditional medicinal herbs. Conversely, Vietnam will expedite the import of sturgeon from China. Currently, 14 types of Vietnamese agricultural products are officially exported to the neighboring country, generating billions of dollars in revenue each year. Last year, Chinese consumers spent $4.6 billion United States dollars on Vietnamese fruits and vegetables.
Places where major and historic battles took place during the Vietnam War attract many veterans from both sides of the conflict to visit during the April 30th holiday. The War Remnants Museum draws 500,000 visitors each year, nearly two-thirds of whom are international tourists. Other historical sites related to the war include the Reunification Palace, the Rex Hotel, where the U.S. often held press conferences at the time, and the Cu Kai tunnels. When visiting the tunnels, tourists can gain a deeper understanding of the war. In addition to international visitors and U.S. veterans, Cu Kai frequently welcomes former Vietnamese soldiers.
Many international and Vietnamese economic experts agree that Vietnam has many conditions to cope with U.S. tariffs. The business community exporting goods to the U.S. market is still anxiously awaiting President Donald Trump's official decision regarding the impositions of tariffs on imports from Vietnam.
If the import tariff imposed on Vietnam is too high, U.S. importers are likely to seek alternative suppliers to significantly reduce increased costs. Vietnamese businesses will face the risk of reduced profits, fewer export orders, and, for some small and medium-sized enterprises, the potential closure of their operations. However, economic experts believe that this presents an opportunity for Vietnam to change its economic structure strategy to increase resilience.
When we have strong capabilities, especially in technology, and know how to increase our labor productivity, we no longer need to worry. Tax competition at the national level is essentially competition in labor productivity. If we diversify our output products, we can perform well not only in the U.S. market but also in domestic, European, and African markets.
In fact, since the fourth quarter of 2024, as the U.S. prepares for elections, companies with goods exported to the U.S. had anticipated the possibility of tariffs and have proactively optimized their production and business operations. However, the U.S. announcement of a 46% tariff on April 2, 2025, still posed significant challenges. Therefore, during the 90-day tariff delay period starting from April 9, many businesses in Nghệ An have developed both short-term solutions and long-term strategies to adapt to all possible scenarios.
If American consumers' purchasing power decreases, then orders will definitely decline. Therefore, the company will implement a market diversification strategy and build a closed-loop production process to save costs. We need to look for additional markets so that we are not overly dependent on the U.S. market. Only then can the company operate sustainably.
Experts observe that the 46% starting tariff proposed by President Trump is very high, making it difficult to envision a final negotiable rate lower than 25%. However, With the upcoming bilateral trade negotiations between Vietnam and the U.S. regarding a reciprocal trade agreement, businesses still hope that the U.S. will impose a basic tariff rate of around 10% on imports from Vietnam, similar to what is applied to goods from countries like Brazil, India, Turkey, Kenya, and some ASEAN nations.
This is the end of the show today. Thank you for watching.